let's talk about keying a little bit. Keying is when you take some pixels on the image according to their chroma information or luma information, and you make them invisible so that you can replace those pixels with something else. One of the most common examples of keying would be the weatherman who is standing in front of a green screen, and then that green screen is replaced by the weather map. Let's go through that really quickly. In the project panel, I have a file called greenscreen.mov. You have this file in your project files. I'm going to go ahead and create a composition with this file. As you can see, the boy is just standing in front of a green screen. The green screen is not lit very well. It has some wrinkles on it, which makes the task a little bit more difficult. What we are going to do is we are going to choose pixels according to their chroma information. In this case, according to the color green. One of the reasons why the green is chosen to be the background color is because it's not a color that naturally occurs in human skin. Red and blues are a little bit more prominent in skin tones. There are different ways of producing a clean key to this clip. But by far the easiest way inside of After Effects of creating a very nice and clean looking key is by the use of an effect called Key Light. Let's go ahead and select Key Light. With the layer selected, and if it isn't, just click on it, go under Effect, Keying, Key Light. And as soon as you select Key Light, you will see the effect inside of the Effect Controls panel. The first thing that we need to do on Key Light is we need to tell Key Light which color we want to turn into transparency. In this case, obviously the green. So, we are going to go to the screen color and click on the eyedropper, and then click on the green background. I usually recommend clicking somewhere near the hair, because the hair is the hardest thing to key. So let's go ahead and click around here or so. And as soon as we do that, the screen turns black. I'm going to go and click on the Toggle Transparency Grid button here at the bottom of the composition panel. And this looks like a pretty clean key just with one click. If you've ever used any other keyer, you're going to see how remarkable this really is, that with one click we get something as clean as this. However, looks can be deceiving and we can't really trust the transparency grid for that, so let's go back to the Effect Controls panel and change the view from Final Result to Screen Matte. This is going to give us a grayscale representation of what's going on with the key. The black pixels represent transparency, the white pixels represent opacity, and grayscale pixels represent semi-transparency. So right now you can see that the blacks are not as clean as they could be, and that the whites are not as clean as they could be either. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with screen gain and screen balance. I'll just try to clean out a little bit the matte. And that's a little bit better. We use the D-spill bias to make sure that there is no green contamination in the pixels that we want to keep. So I'm going to go ahead and change the view back to a final result. And that's much better. Now, it helps, and it helps a lot, if you place a clip under it, something that you want to use instead of the original green. So let me go ahead and do that. I'll just select any of these. Let's see the track clip. I'll just put it under it, and there you go. And it's a pretty clean key. I'll go back to the Effect Controls panel and select the green screen movie. The next thing that I can adjust if I need to, and in this case doesn't look like I need to, but I'll just go through it really quickly, is I can change the screen pre-blur. What this means is that the effect is going to blur a little bit the screen before applying the key, therefore making the green color more even throughout, so that when we key it, when the key is performed, it will perform a cleaner key or a more even key. We don't need to do that in this example, so let's just go ahead and expand the one that says Screen Matte. This is another way that we have to strengthen the black and the white. If you remember, the black and the white represent transparency and opacity. Let's go ahead and change the view back to the Screen Matte. And now we can play around with these values, and we can strengthen the whites and the blacks to produce a cleaner key. In this case, we don't really need to do that, so I'll right-click these and just reset them back. One of the things that I like are the screen shrink and grow. You can make your whole mat larger or smaller by scrubbing on this value. I'll change it to about a -1. It's measured in pixels. And let's go back to the final result. And it's looking really, really good. One of the last things that I need to do with this particular clip is that I need to color correct it so that it matches the background a little bit better. And we can do that by using the foreground color correction area right here inside of Keylight. Let me go ahead and expand that. And I'll click on the Enable button. And now let's go ahead and go to the color balancing and the color balance wheel. And you can see that the pixels of the green screen movie are a little bit on the greenish side, which means I can drag this to the magenta hue, therefore fixing it a little bit better. I can also scrub these numbers right here for hue and saturation. I can change saturation, contrast, and brightness. One of the last things that I want to mention about Keylight is that you can have masks in here. The inside mask will provide opacity in case somebody is wearing something green or something that is being keyed out of an area that you don't want it keyed out. For example, if the boy were wearing a hat that had a green logo, then that logo would become invisible, transparent when I apply the key to the green. I can always add a mask, and we have gone over that. Let me go ahead and create a quick mask. I can even interpolate it, but under the masks, M for mask, don't forget that shortcut, I can change the opacity to none. And inside of the Effect Controls panel under Keylight, I can expand the inside mask property, and I'll choose the mask that I created for inside mask. That would make sure that those pixels remain opaque. The opposite occurs with the outside mask. You can make sure that the pixels that are inside of the outside mask remain invisible no matter what color they are. This is very usable for when the green screen is smaller than the area that you videotaped. Keylight is a very, very powerful keyer, and one that I use every time I perform any type of keying function.